All right, as already been said, we're going to do a lesson tonight on perspective, as in how do you see it? So I want to try to do a little bit of activities with you, try to get across the spiritual lessons. So first of all, we're going to start with here is we're going to look at some perception pictures. And I want you to raise your hand if you can see more than one picture. So the first one, Brother Steve, first of all, definition. Let's look at that. Definition of perspective. This is a mental picture. So this is the mind picture that you see when you hear something or when you observe something. What are you seeing in your mind? How are you perceiving it? All right, number one. What do you see? Just yell it out. A vase? Faces. All right, who sees just one? Who sees them both? Anybody cannot see them both? Raise your hand. Okay. All right, it's okay. Next one. What do we see here? We see a face. Oh, you see something else? Brother Steve, next slide. There's the word liar. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. All right, let's look at another one. Perception here. What do we see here? Old lady and a young lady. Who cannot see the old lady and the young lady both? All right, so that's a little bit harder. Actually, the title of this is My Wife and My Mother-in-Law. So, I don't know, go figure. All right, so the old lady, this is her nose and her mouth. The young lady, this is her ear, her nose, there's her eyelashes. So, see it now? Ah. All right. Next one. Next one. What do you see here? Oh, Santa Claus. Or a skull. Yes. So scary. Absolutely. All right. Next one. What do we see here? Old lady. Do we see anything else? We see a young one. Brother Steve, next slide. And there's a young lady. Old lady and young lady. All right, go back. There's the old lady. And next one is the young lady.
Those eyelashes are black.
I hear you. All right. So, did anybody have trouble? I think you did. Did anybody have trouble seeing both perspectives before it was pointed out to you? Was there any of the pictures you're like, yep, of course, yeah, till you explain it? All right, so that's what I wanted to get across to you. Perception. We don't always see things exactly the same as everybody else. All right, let's go to the next slide. You see here, the guy's been abandoned. He sees a boat coming. He is so excited. His perspective, he's got help coming. Boat! And to our right, we see a man in the boat thinking he's been saved because he's found land. Land! And the next slide shows us what the shark thinks. Food! It's all about perspective, isn't it? It sure is. All right, let's look at perspective from where... No, let's look at... Okay, so we got the food. Let's look at perspective from where you're standing. Our next slide here. It's deep. No, it's not. Well, it's deep where the guy here on the right is, my right. What about over here? It's a 6, it's a 9. This is why when you're playing games, you always have to put a line under it so you know, right? They're both correct. It's a 6 from where that person's standing, and it's a 9 from where this person's standing. Some people can have knockdown dragouts because of the perspective, and they're arguing about their perspective. All right, so I have an activity, very short activity I'd like to do. I'd like to have a volunteer. Let's see. Well, Cole, you're the closest volunteer. Come on up here. All right, Cole, I'm going to have you close your eyes. Stay right here. Put the mic down. Close your eyes. Do not look. All right, you open your eyes, and I want you to tell me what you see.
I have no clue.
All right, I'm going to take a tiny step back, and I want you to tell me what you see. Okay? Let's look a little bit more. I'm going to come a little further back. What do you see? A little farther. That was good though.
That is
All right.
my note.
Yeah. You want to do some more? I don't have any more. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for volunteering. So when it was right next to his nose, let me show you what the picture was actually. He had no idea what this was. No idea. When it was right next to his nose. Why? Why did he not know what this was? He was too close to it. How many times when we're in a situation and we don't have the right perception because we're too close to it, and we got to take a step back, and we got to pause, and take some time, wait a little bit, let time pass, and then you're like, whoa, that's not at all how I thought it the first time I saw it. That was just a blur, a mess at first. I step back, and I'm like, oh, I see now what it is. Talking about perception. All right, we're going to do another short little activity. Next slide. This word, I want you to close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. All right, the word on the screen is ocean. I want you to get some word pictures in your mind when I say ocean. All right, ready? All right, open your eyes. I want to tell me, what did you see? Beach. What else? Waves. What else? Boardwalk. What else? Sand. What else did you see in your mind when we said ocean?
Somebody said seagull.
Seagulls. Water.
Crabs.
Crabs. How come you all didn't say the same thing? Why did you not all say the very same word? You're different people. You're coming from different viewpoints, different places in life, different life experiences. That word means a lot of different things because we're not the same person.
I've been asking how many people has ever been to the ocean and their experience with the ocean has been different.
And I think about this, how many people have actually been to the ocean or seen an ocean? All right, and I'm sure that all of your experiences have been vastly different. Okay? And so again, that plays a part into it too. The history that you've had with that particular object. All right?
But how foolish for me to stand here and argue with you and say, no, ocean means waves. Why would you say boardwalk? That's dumb. Why would you say seagulls? It means waves. It means water. And we could argue. But that is my perspective. That's your perspective. But we are both right. Like the 6 and the 9, we're both right. It's just where we're at, our personality, maybe which beach we visited. Maybe I've never seen a boardwalk, and so I don't understand what you're talking about. Perspective. Let's do another one. Brother Steve, go ahead. Love. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I want you to think of a word picture, not words. I want you to think of a picture. When I say the word love. All right, open your eyes. What picture came to mind? Brother Steve.
My wife.
All right, Lucas. Mom and Dad. I can't hear real good, so yell it out. Ice cream? Heart? Camp meeting? You love camp meeting? Food? Oh, yeah. Perhaps a guy or a girl who will remain unnamed at this time. Again, why did you not all say the same thing? God is love. You should have all said God. We're very unique individuals. And I might be up here saying, I love chocolate. And you're like, I hate chocolate. I would never think of chocolate with the word love. What are you thinking about? That doesn't make me right and you wrong, or, well, it might make you wrong. No. But we're coming from different perspectives. But I want you to see how in life, too many times we let little things come between us. And it's more about where we're standing and what we've experienced than it is being right and being wrong. Steve, go ahead. So there's a story about a Blackfoot Indian. I think this happened maybe in the 1800s. And he traveled from his beautiful country out west to New York City. And when he got to New York City, he was surprised to hear that people who lived there thought that he came from the wilderness. And to him, it was trees and grass and a beautiful place to live. And they called it wilderness. You come from the wilderness. Well, several years later, his mom visited New York. And when she went home, she told her son, New York's a wilderness. Again, all about perspective. All about perspective. Let's see. We're going to make some assumptions in these next pictures. We're going to try to figure out what's going on. We don't know for sure. Some of you might know for sure. Some of you have no idea. So here we have Brother James. What do you think's going on in this picture? I love this picture, James. I'm going to use it on every poster.
Broke his hand.
He broke his hand and he's crying. Okay, that could be. James, you're going to tell us when we're all said and done. All right, anybody else want to guess what's going on with James? He might have got hurt. He's yawning.
I feel like he's singing, but like messing around.
I think he's singing, but okay, that was what Lauren said. All right, Brother James, what was going on in this picture? It's visitation in the nursing home. You were very excited to be there, right? You were singing for the Lord. We'll go with it. It sounds good. We had a lot of different guesses, though, didn't we? All right, so here in the middle, we've got CJ. What is CJ? What's going on with him? He's what? He made a small mistake. Could be. He's not here to ask. If you've seen this picture, you know what he's doing. But we can. What else do you think possibly might be going on? Especially if you don't know, if you weren't there. He is playing the piano. He's concentrating. You watch my brother's face when he's playing the piano. Yeah, it's about the same. All right, over here to the right. What do you think's going on with Cody?
They're playing Scrabble.
They are playing Scrabble, but maybe he won. Maybe he's excited to be with his girlfriend, Lucas. Ah, there we go. He's like, better pose for this one. Mr. Lucky's will be putting it in the scrapbook. Is Cody here to ask? No, he's not. All right, next slide.
Alexa might know.
Alexa, do you have any idea what's going on with Cody? He probably didn't. Okay. He won his Scrabble more than likely. All right, next slide. What's going on here with Whitney and Alexa? Now, if you were here, don't tell me. I only want this question to go to the people that were not here for this activity. Why do you think they're crawling under tables in the dining hall? They're looking for something. Good. That's a good guess. Anybody that was not here would like to guess what Whitney and Alexa are crawling under the table? I keep here. Yeah? No?
Their body.
Oh. Wow. That is a new one. All right. Somebody who was here, tell us, Sister Lauren, what are they doing?
Sister Victoria had made a maze, and one person had to lead another who was blindfolded around.
Very good. So Sister Victoria did a lesson on trust. She came here in the dining hall and made a maze of tables and chairs. And we had one person who was blindfolded, in this case it's Whitney, and then somebody who's leading them by just voice command. And it was an excellent lesson. But if you didn't know that we did a lesson, you would wonder why in the world these girls are crawling on the floor. All right, to the right, if you weren't here, just random pictures from youth events or things, what do you think might be going on the right here? Something to do with cowboys? No guess is wrong. Let's just go for it. This is your perception.
Maybe we had Southern Belles come to visit.
They're playing dress up. Any other guesses? Modeling? Yeah. All right, somebody who was here that night, tell me what was going on. We had a ladies' tea party. The brethren, there's something about ladies that kind of excludes brethren. But would you like to have a tea party? We can tell Brother Steve. Somebody gave me a teapot today. Brother Steve, would you like to talk to the brethren about etiquette?
All you guys be interested in is a glass of sweet tea is what you get.
Or homemade Pop-Tarts, because that's what we have.
Oh, homemade Pop-Tarts.
That's a thing.
Oh,
That's a thing.
And we got a daughter that makes killer homemade Pop-Tarts. Steak and sweet tea.
All right. What are the reasons for these different perceptions? If you were not at these activities, you were not there when this happened, why didn't we all guess the same thing? Same answer that I've had all along. Because you got different personalities. You've got different outlook on life. Maybe you don't know that person. Maybe you do know that person. You're like, well, with James, it's hard to tell what was going on. James, I love the picture. Thank you for your permission. I did not skip it. A couple of stories that come to mind about perceptions. One of my favorite stories, I'm picking on people tonight, sorry about that. And so Whitney will be next. When Whitney was born, she cried all the time. Good joke. And so I was working in the bookstore. She was probably like 6 weeks old. And my sister Victoria said, I'll take her a break. I will take her. And I got to do some shopping. All the way to the store, Whitney just screamed. And Vicky said that she had a lady come up to her and say, what is wrong with your baby? Vicky said, I don't know. It's not my baby. So, perception. This mother is not got her child under control, and it's actually the aunt. And anyway, it all worked out. Another one that's maybe not quite as funny, but I've never forgot this story. When I was growing up, the Bible stories, Uncle Dan and Aunt Sue, Children's Bible Hour, they came on at 4 o'clock. And so the bus came home at 4 o'clock, so you just ran as fast as you could. That was the highlight of your afternoon, to go in the house and turn the stories on. And if mom and dad weren't home, guess where the volume was at? It was cranked. We liked it loud. Nobody in here likes that, right? So you could listen to it wherever you're at the house. In the basement, you could still hear it. Well, right after the stories were done, Christian rock came on. Well, if mom was home, we would have quickly turned that off. But mom wasn't home, we didn't care. I mean, we didn't like Christian rock, we just didn't care. And I'll never forget, a couple from church came to the back door and were knocking. And this Christian rock, they don't even know it's Christian rock, they just know it's rock. It's blasting. And when I went to the door and I saw their face, I'm like, I'm in so much trouble. When my mom and dad hear this story. So perception. Them Conver kids are out of control. Well, I mean, we might have been sometimes, but not that day. Not that day. So, some funny stories about perception. We can make quick judgments and completely misread a situation. All right, let's look at a couple of quotes here. This one, kind of serious now for a moment. You know my name, but not my story. You see my smile and not my pain. You notice my cuts, but not my scars. You can read my lips, but not my heart. Young people, every one of us in here are dealing with some stuff. I think that's a good assumption. I think that's a fair assumption. Every one of us in here have got some stuff in our backpack that's kind of hard to deal with. And a lot of times we put a smile on and we just go. Because it's too intense to share with everybody. If I go to Kroger and every person I see, I want to say, do you know my son had a stroke and it was stressful? And it was, we lost all of our, okay. Management, this lady needs help. And she probably is. We are dealing with a lot. And sometimes it's very easy to misjudge each other. Sometimes we look at somebody and we're like, man, they're such a grouch. And we don't know what just happened at home before they got here. All of us are dealing with a lot. And I bring some funny things about perception because I want to challenge you. We need to try to walk a mile in each other's shoes. And I've got a few thoughts here I'd like to share with you about that. Go ahead, Christy. Most disagreements are caused by different perceptions. You think about a lot of disagreements that we have with each other. And sometimes it's not always about being right and wrong. It's just how we perceive something. It's very difficult to be misunderstood. And sometimes we get maybe a little loud, trying to get our point across, maybe a little angry, instead of stepping back and saying, they just can't see it from where I'm standing. It's a 6 to them, and it's a 9 to me. What's that old saying? You haven't walked a mile in my shoes. Judge me. So that's what I'd like to challenge you a little bit. Think about maybe what the other person's coming from. Next one. Look at a couple of stories. I want to go to, go back a slide. I have one thing I forgot. Something else. For instance, if we were to go outside and I would say, boy, the sky just looks gray today. And you're like, Sister Sherry, the sky is never gray. It's always blue. Why would you say it's gray? That's dumb. That's my perception. But yet, it's kind of easy. I think if you all have siblings, we told each other, no, sorry, we shouldn't, but we have. And how does that make us feel when we're on the other side? Usually we want to argue, we're a little irritated, we tell mom, whichever one works best. But I think about somebody's personality. You might say, man, they're such a grouch, they're always so mean. And yet, somebody else will come along and say, they are the nicest person. You will not believe what they did for me they have got such a heart of gold. And they're talking about the same person. It's their interactions. It's their perception. It might have been that person had a good day. If they had a bad day, that person, I think we all can be grouchy and nice, even sometimes maybe the same day. All right, let's talk about what does the Bible say about perception. So let's look at the next slide here. The woman of Shunem. Do you remember this? She's with the prophet Elisha. And she's the one that couldn't have any children. And he prayed for her, and she was able to have children. And her and her husband built a room on their house, on top of their house, for the prophet Elisha. And she says, I perceive this is a holy man of God. That's her perception. Now, did she just, well, he's done a lot of good things. So my opinion is, or is this a much deeper perception than just something that you're seeing with your natural eyes? Nehemiah, he's got this problem with Sanballat and Tobiah. Remember the story? He's trying to rebuild. He's going back to Jerusalem, and they're trying to rebuild the walls, and he's gathering the people together, and he's got great opposition. And Sanballat and Tobiah send this servant. They're doing their best to hinder him. He doesn't know that. The servant doesn't come and say, oh, by the way, Sanballat and Tobiah would like to not see these walls built, and so they're trying to hinder the work. No, it's not that obvious. It's all, come talk with us. You're doing a good job. We should just sit down and have a chat about this. And Nehemiah said, I perceived that God had not sent him. So I want to talk to you a little bit about when using perception with our natural eyes can get us in trouble. But God can help us to be able to see beyond that natural man. Also, another Bible story that comes to mind. Next slide. King Ahasuerus puts out this decree. What was that decree? It's in Esther, at a below. What was the command, the decree that King Ahasuerus put out?
All the Jews are going to be killed.
Yes, all the Jews are going to be killed. All right, so I thought this is really interesting. Look at these two different perceptions. The last verse in chapter 3 says, the city of Shushan was perplexed. Like, what in the world's going on? What do you do such a thing for? I don't understand this. We see over here a man of God, Mordecai, Esther 4:1. When he perceived, he knew what he needed to do. He gets down to some serious fasting and prayer. He realized what was going on. It was much more than just, I wonder what the king's up to these days. And another story that I don't have up here that came to mind was the woman at the well with Jesus. He comes and he begins to talk to her, and she says, Sir, I perceive you're a prophet. She's beginning to see something with more than just natural eyes. But by the time they were done talking, she goes to town and says, come see a man who told me everything I've ever done. Is not this Christ? How can we perceive things with more than just the human eyes? We're going to have the eyes of Christ. Next slide. Now I beseech you, brethren, we read in 1 Corinthians 1:10, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye speak the same thing, and there be no divisions among you, but ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind. Here's how to have a godly perspective on what's going on with situations with other people, or godly perception. To have the same mind. Well, whose mind? My mind? Your mind? Sometimes I don't even understand my own mind. I don't think you need to be trying to have the same mind as me. No, it's up there. Our Lord Jesus Christ. When we're in the same mind as Christ, when situations happen, we're like, Lord, I just really don't understand what happened here, why they did that, why is this working out like that. Could you help me to understand a little bit? It's one thing I've asked the Lord to help me, and I believe He's showing me, is a lot of times what you see right here is not really what's going on. Because a lot of times we just put up a wall. Because we don't want to get hurt again. We've been hurt a few too many times. We don't want you to see what's really going on inside. We don't want you to know that we cried ourselves to sleep last night. And we don't know how to handle what's going on in life. So we put a wall up. And sometimes that wall is not very lovely. And it's not very easy to see through and see the real person. And then that wall might be sharp words, a mean look, cutting somebody off. Just, that's not the real person. The real person in here is hurting. Spiritual perception helps us to see beyond the arguing and the behavior that's not lovely, to see that person, that they need you. They need you to reach out to them. Next slide. So two ways we can improve our perspective. Number one, let's have better eyesight. Who in here wears glasses or contacts? How's your vision when you are not wearing your glasses or your contacts? Blind. So. You're a bit impaired. How many in here has a driver's license that says must have corrective eyewear on it? Yes. So even the state of whatever you're living in, Ohio or wherever you're from, says you're not safe to drive with your natural eyesight because it's impaired. How to have healthy eyesight? Well, we get glasses. We go to the eye doctor. We get prescription glasses. You might have surgery to repair something that is going on in your eye that's preventing you from seeing. But this is more, we've talked about this, is more than the natural eyesight to help us have a better perspective when we're working with people. So number one, have healthy eyesight. Anything that you're looking at or reading that could possibly be hindering you spiritually could make your eyes a little dim. How do we maintain them? Get into the Word. We listen to the preaching. We do some praying. We're going to have healthy eyesight because Brother Dishman talks about making a covenant with your eyes, that you're not going to look at things that are going to hinder you. And there's many, many other ways, but another one that I brought out here is let's think healthy thoughts. Because when you're constantly thinking negative, you will find negative. Is your glass half full or half empty? Some people go through life and it's just half empty. I just can't believe I only have half a glass of water. I was so thirsty, and look at them, their glass is going, and then, wow, I can't believe they would act like that. And you see how the negativity just snowballs. I read something the other day and it said, do you know why people have a glass that's half full? Because they keep adding to it. Oh, I'm so thankful that I was able to get up today and be in my right mind and not be sick and didn't have an accident on the way to church. And they're working on being positive. And then when you're working on having a healthy, positive thought life, you're going to be looking over here and going, oh, hey, they did to church too. That's awesome. They're healthy. They're doing well. Oh, they brought a wonderful testimony. That was such a blessing. If you are what you eat, you are what you think. Next slide. Finally, this is how to have good, godly perspective. Let's find positives. Whatsoever things are true. But I told my children, don't stop there, because there's some true things that we should just not be meditating on. They will just discourage us in a heartbeat.
Or saying.
Yes. Whatsoever things are honest, just, pure, lovely, good reports, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. When you work on thinking on positive things, feeding yourself on positive things, your perspective, when you're working with other people, will begin to change too. Instead of, she is such a grouch, I don't know what her problem is, you're going to be like, wow, I wonder what happened today. Maybe she missed the bus. Maybe she was running late for work. She probably, who knows, broke a fingernail. Hard to tell. But compassion says there might be a reason why. Sometimes you get behind a slow driver and you just can't hardly handle it. You look up there and they're 87 years old, and I'm like, I've had a grandfather I've got old people in my life that I love dearly. So God bless them. Or sometimes I just remind myself they might have saved me a speeding ticket today. So thank the Lord for that. You work hard on having a different perspective. So young people, I hope I challenged you. Some of the activities here. We don't always see everything the same. And it's so easy to maybe jump quickly. How in the world could you think that? How would you say that? Well, it's because where they're standing is a 6 to them. And it's looking like a 90. It's deep where they're at, and you're in the shallow water. And say, God, help us. Help us to look beyond maybe just somebody's behavior and say, there's probably a reason